I've made a bunch of irresponsible decisions and now I'm famous.
I was singing in like Creed butt rock voice. You know what we actually are, Matt? We're recovering gambling addicts.
Welcome to the 11D Life podcast.
What's up, 11D Lifers? Matt here. I'm so happy to have you with us for this week's 11D Life. Hey, I want to give a big shout out to everybody who hung with us through this last episode of 11D Life that we did when I just had my wisdom teeth taken out. I was listening back to that intro this week, and that was a scary moment. To be me. I had this wisdom teeth surgery and they didn't get the sedatives quite right while I was having it, and so I ended up being awake for the entire thing, and it was one of the most painful and traumatic experiences that I've ever had. I could hear my teeth cracking as they were pulling them out of my head. I'm a little bit older than the normal person that gets their wisdom teeth taken out, and so they had told me that we might run into a few snafus. But gosh, feeling bones cracking in your skull is something I won't soon be forgetting. And a huge thank you to everybody who sent me well wishes and kind words. And I am off all of the super strong pain medication and back in the saddle for new 11D Life episodes. You guys were so sweet to care that I went through that. Hey, a big thank you and welcome to some new faces that we have at the 11D Life Facebook group. We have Mary Nickel, who just came onto the group, Kyle Gaillard, Jeff Thomas, Jacob Muffins, Eleanor Skelton, Sarah Brown, Kevin McCreary joined. He was just on the episode a few weeks back. If you haven't checked out what he's doing over at Say Goodnight Kevin on YouTube, go do it now. Ian Patrick Harris, Joel Drzymski, Megan Tropnick, Zach Wright, Nolan Weaver, Samuel Lynn. Man, we see you. We see you on there. Welcome to the 11D fam. We're happy to have you here. Hey, guess what? We got some brand new 11D music headed your way so soon. We are nearing completion of this EP. Gosh, it has taken us forever. We got held up with construction on the new studio at the beginning of the year, and we're finally honing in on this B-Sides EP from the last album that we put out, Rad Science. So if you want to be one of the first people to get a hold of this EP, go ahead and follow our band on Spotify. There are links to that in the show notes. You will be able to listen to this EP before everybody else does. If you're part of that, if you backed our album Rad Science on Kickstarter, you will be sent a free download of this album because we promised you that, and you guys helped us meet our stretch goal, which was to put this EP out because you're amazing. Congratulate yourself. Hey, one of the things I've noticed over the past few weeks, it feels like this, for some reason, this time of year, the transition of seasons, this sort of midsummer slump-ish sort of a thing, has a lot of people just feeling super down. And I've definitely felt this weird wave of depressive malaise sort of hanging over me at the studio. A lot of my friends who are content creators and songwriters and all of that good stuff, they're experiencing it too. And I'm seeing a lot of my friends sort of hurting with this right now. Just, I don't know if it's existential angst about the universe or if it's just, sometimes it's just hard to get up. Sometimes it's harder to sift through all of the bad thoughts to get back to the good ones. And sometimes we just feel stuck. Sometimes we just feel stuck at a 5 and we'd rather be at a 10. And sometimes we have to spend time in the 5 and it's going to be okay. Whatever you're going through, if you're having a rough time, just consider this, me thinking about you, patting you on the back, trying my best to let you know that all of us are kind of going through it too. So what I've been doing is calling my friends or texting my friends that I feel like are having a hard time, just letting them know that I'm thinking about them and that I care, that they're here. Gosh, call up one of your friends. If you have a friend who you know is having a really hard time, stop listening to this podcast right now. Put it on pause, shoot them a text, let them know that you care about them, let them know that you love them, remind them of the last fun thing that you guys did together, and go do it again. I know it sounds like a really silly thing, but something just as simple as going to see a movie, going to grab a drink, playing a board game, making up a stupid game to play with your friends can be super fun. One of my most favorite games that I've made up recently is a game called La La, where you literally just la la the melody to a song. The first person to guess what you are la-laing wins. They don't win anything, just the satisfaction of knowing that they were the first one to figure it out. So, for example, if I were to begin the game by la-laing, la 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 la, and the first person to yell Smash Mouth All-Star would win that round. Yeah. As I'm telling you about it now, it sounds kind of stupid, but don't knock it till you rock it. Anyway, we have an awesome episode. We have an awesome episode for you this week. My friend Steven Fiore is on the show. He plays in a band called Young Mister, and he has had one of the most interesting journeys through the music industry. I can't wait for you to hear him talk about it. He has really great insight. He has really great advice for singer-songwriters, people trying to navigate the music industry. He's seen and done a lot of it, and he shares his wisdom with you, and just all around cool dude. Just so kind, so sweet, and so thoughtful. And I've got a link to all of his music and to an upcoming show that he's playing in the show notes for today. If you're going to be in the Columbia, South Carolina area next week, he's playing at New Brooklyn Tabernacle, one of the most famous venues in Columbia. For all of our fans who are in Cola that listen to the show, a big shout out to you guys. And yes, go make a fun memory with Steven at New Brooklyn Tabernacle. Anyway, I love y'all. I'm so glad that you're here with us this week, and on with the share. Yeah, do you need this is all you right here. Yeah.
Ooh, nice little setup you guys got down here.
It's not too shabby.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the reasons that we moved from Black Mountain was because like the property that we were on was like on a slope.
Yeah.
And there was like, we're like, well, we can either like build a whole brand new studio here, which is going to take us a year and a half, because we have other stuff going on.
Right.
Or we can come here and just renovate this basement and then like do everything we need to do.
I mean, it's like, it's great. It's like dead. You know what I mean? Like,
it's pretty dead. Like
that's what you want. I mean, like it's like it, like you can be down here doing whatever you want to do, and no one up there is bothered.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
great.
totally true. Yeah, we love hanging out at Bearwaters. Where I'm probably there a lot more than I should be.
Oh man, God, being so close. Yeah, I would be too. I'm not a big beer drinker. I can't drink too much of it.
Yeah.
But God, it's like, just wish they would open like a great bar here, like, and then I would be in trouble. I
actually want to do that. It's kind of a dream of mine.
Yeah,
I would love to be.
I'll go in on that with you.
I'd love to be a bar owner at some point.
Yeah.
I'm more of like the creative, what do we do next? How do we get there?
Yeah.
Kind of guy.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely not the
business part.
Hope you're here at 5 a.m. every day to make sure that everything opens up correctly.
I want to be able to see, in an ideal world, I want to be able to come up with the concept.
Yeah.
And then just let someone else like run it, run the show. Like these are the ideas. Don't break these rules. Like, but
yeah.
Anyway,
that's cool. One of the things I have realized in life is that I want to say that I'm not good at doing all of the grunt work, but if I want something done, I kind of have to set that tone. Yeah. Like I have to, if I have a dream that I want to have something happen, like for instance, like I knew, like when we first started out making records and stuff or working with producers, I was like, I'm gonna have to learn how to do all these different things. Like I can't just like farm out editing and engineering and all this stuff. Like I'm gonna have to figure out how to do all of it myself. And I feel like it's paid off. There are times where I feel like, gosh, I edit everything. Like I would love to be able to throw stuff off to some, but now I know what to ask for. Now I know what I'm listening for. And like so
I just like play into the microphone.
Yeah.
And then I just press buttons until it sounds okay to me.
Yeah.
That's my demo recording process.
I love it.
Yeah. I have a bunch of probably illegally acquired digital preamps.
Oh yeah.
That's it. Like, I mean, I've been building my nice, like, building bit by bit a nicer setup. I just got an Apollo Twin.
That's great.
And I got an SM7 now, a couple different nice mics. Just got an SM81. which is great for live and recording acoustics. And the kind of vibe that I'm going to be going for next in an album is a very Cat Stevens, Nick Drake kind of really stripped down acoustic and piano and just kind of taking the songs to their core, which I think is like melody and lyrics, like not a whole bunch of overproduction or even just a whole bunch of stack production in general. So that's why, I'm kind of just being very meticulous about the pieces that I pick out, because I don't want there to be too many. Like I want to get one more nice microphone, and then I want to get an Ampex like 601, tape preamp, and have everything sound nice and warm, but I want it to sound minimal.
I love that. I love that. You can move this a little closer to you.
Yeah, I might do that because I feel. Yeah. Okay.
You know what you're doing.
It's always weird though.
You're a professional.
I had this experience. My friend Dries from he's in the band Susto. So Dries came up and did some writing with me, and we ended up attempting to make a video. I'm not sure if he's very good at making videos. I'm just not very good at being in videos.
Yeah.
So the minute we were having these long conversations and on the porch, like over the grill, smoking cigars, and I was spilling my guts to him and doing so without the camera on. And then we put the camera on, and all the stuff that I was saying out there I'm supposed to be saying in here.
Yep.
But the lights are there and the camera's on me, and I don't know what to do with my hands. And you know what I mean? Like
you Ricky Bobby it.
Yeah, I just like freeze, and it's like there's nobody else around. It's just him and the camera. And at some point I was just like, dude, I'm so sorry. I have to do a million takes of this because I'm not good at being like put on the spot.
No, dude, I totally get it. It's literally like there's something that just completely like fucks your ability to think when a camera's on you. This is what I think it is, because we've experienced this a lot, and this is one of the reasons why we try to keep the podcast so low key, because it's like we quit doing cold opens. We quit doing like, hey, so we're gonna talk with so and so about derpy derp, because fucking everybody does that.
Derpy
like,
derp.
yeah, there's, and it's so put on.
Yeah.
And the things that we're interested in life are the grilling out, smoking cigars moments.
Yeah.
Like those kinds of conversations. Like why are we here? What's the thing that really drives us? What are the things that like incite creativity in us?
Right.
And that sort of stuff. So like, but I've had to figure out how to do this thing like in front of the camera. And I think, going back to my theory about this, I think it's that you start to puncture your ego when you feel like people are listening. You become really aware that like people are going to be watching you. People are going to be seeing a presentation of you or an image of you. And you might compromise yourself, because I think innately we don't really trust ourselves.
Yes,
on a fundamental level. Sometimes
I would tend to agree with you on that. Yeah. I'm also going to go with my theory, which is that the camera just steals your soul. So that's like that's what I think it is.
It's so Native American.
It's like, I know when it comes in, when it just zooms in on you, or like I feel like something is missing in my body that was there. It was there.
It was there. And it's not anymore,
and it's not there now. And I can't explain it, so therefore it's witchcraft.
Yeah,
like that's it.
Well, like so you're I would consider you to be quite an excellent songwriter. I think you're very talented in that way, and I think that maybe people from the outside would look in at us and say, "Well, but you do write songs. Like you are vulnerable with people. You do attempt to write from an honest place. At least I would hope that people would think that about the things that we make. But it's different. It's a controlled vulnerability. It's like when you're recording, when you're writing songs, God only knows how many times you rewrote that. Like, or what that original lyric was, or how shitty that first melody was.
Exactly.
Or like,
no, it's a very different thing when you're talking to someone face to face. The pressure isn't on. The pressure of, like you said, somebody is going to see this. Somebody else that I don't know.
Yep.
Out there in internet land. Yep. is going to watch this. Not only watch it, they're going to have the ability to anonymously tell me what they think.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
that does that, I think subconsciously, at least it does come up in your head, in your brain when you get on camera and you're like, how do I sound? Like, I need to be very conscious that I'm like trimming the nerd voice back a little more so that I sound cooler. Like it's like there's a lot that goes. The anxiety just, I'm very much, Woody Allen meets Larry David on a normal basis, but the camera gets on it's 10 times worse. Yeah, it's done.
That's great. Yeah. I love that. Are you so like whenever you release material, are you, there's sort of that bated breath period where something goes live, an album or a song, and that there are people that are going to be seeing it, that are going to be making assumptions about it. Does it ever worry you that people will hate it?
No.
Does it bother you when people hate it?
No. And I will tell you why. I've realized that this is part of why I'm not one of the many reasons why I'm not famous, but like
you figured out why you're not
famous. I figured out one, at least a couple of probably 1,000 reasons why I'm not,
because Woody Allen and Larry David seem like a pretty great combo.
They're great, but there's just so much more that goes into them that makes it. Yeah. But for me, sorry, the Woody Allen thing. I just started thinking, and then I lost my train of thought.
Why you're not famous?
What was the question?
You were gonna tell everybody why you're not as famous as you could be or might be.
I think it's because I don't actually care what anybody thinks. Like when it comes to music, like I write what I want to write.
Okay,
and I put it out, and it's not that I'm not obsessively checking for what people are saying.
Yeah,
because like I want to hear it. But when I hear bad reviews, it doesn't really like, I think I've scored. So my last album, the first full length, Young Mr. album, we put out a couple years ago, and we got a lot of great reviews, like a lot of really great reviews. And then, Modern Vinyl, Modern Vinyl. Yeah. We got the lowest score ever
that they'd ever given.
Set
a new record.
Yeah, we set a new record on Modern Vinyl. Right. And I remember seeing it and being like, huh, like, and just kind of thinking, and I was like, that's interesting. But I remember also very much just being like, I don't really care what this guy says. Because I read his points, and everything that he hated was everything I was going for.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, okay, well, he noticed them, so job well done in my book.
Yeah.
Like, he just didn't like it. It's a statement. It's different opinions and different tastes. Or I struggled with that early in life, but not so much now. That is exactly how we survive as a society. Like if everybody liked the same thing, it
would be a monoculture.
I can't tell you how boring and that would be.
Yeah. So when did you start getting into songwriting? Was it like music? Do you come from a musical family or?
No, actually, no.
Okay.
I think so. I picked up guitar, when I was 13 to meet girls and, whatever, the same reason everybody does.
Right.
And I started learning different cover songs and playing and singing. And I remember a point where I was talking to my mom in the car. We were in the car, and I guess she had heard me singing, playing music. And I was like, I really think I could do this. I want to pursue this. I want to write songs and sing. And my mom said, like not everyone's a singer, and I really credit that and my mom is just one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. And I know it doesn't sound like when I tell that story, but I credit her because I think that I just spent the next years just being like, you're wrong. Like, and that's how I can sing now.
Yeah.
That's how I have the voice I have. I think was pure determination.
That is so fun. That's actually really encouraging to me because I had a very similar experience with my mom where, I was like, when I started getting into music, I was like 11, 12 maybe. And I realized like, oh, there's more music out here than just what my parents have on the radio.
Right.
And like,
there's more than Bob Seger.
Yeah, exactly. And so I remember having this conversation with my mom where she was like, if you want to sing, then then you need to sing me something. You need to like learn a song and you need to come sing it for me.
Right.
So I labored over this, like over this moment, just like practicing, rehearsing, like trying to get everything
what
just
am I gonna
right.
Choose?
And then my mom just like she's cooking dinner one night, and it was probably SpongeBob macaroni and cheese and hot dogs, and
That's exactly what I want for lunch right now.
Exactly. And so I go into the kitchen, and she's sitting there, and I'm like waited for nobody else to be around, like my brother and sister are not buying for her attention, and so I'm like, okay, I think I want to sing a song for you now. And I'll never forget the look on my mom's face when I was finished singing. It was one of, dear God, please keep me from bursting out in laughter right now so I don't destroy my child.
Oh man.
And she pretty much responded with like a very similar sentiment. My mom always thought, because when she realized I was getting in, like I was probably going to make a play for being in a band, or like starting a band or something.
Yeah.
She was like, maybe who's the guy that kind of travels with the band and like moves the knobs and stuff and like makes them louder or softer.
Yeah.
Without
them, they're really nothing.
you should try that out.
Yeah.
My parents had no faith in me whatsoever.
Yeah.
None. I mean, they might, I don't know how revisionist history it would be for them.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a context for like, my kid wants to make a living doing music, and all they knew of that world was that it was just so far off, and that was only something that happened to people on television or on the radio.
Yeah, it was. I had sort of the similar vibe in the very beginning. Again, like first year playing music, first year picking up guitar, maybe even second year.
How old were you when this happened?
I was 13, and then by the time I was 15, though, I was still singing. I could carry a tune, and I was singing. A lot of people thought I was a great singer then, despite the fact that I was singing in like Creed butt rock voice. But like, but I had the the
who doesn't sound good in that voice
slur, right? But anyway, my parents heard. My parents liked Creed, so they were like,
"This is so weird."
It was like he's great. And so they pushed me, and not pushed me, but they supported me, and my dad bought me instruments, and everybody, they did everything they could to actually support me after they realized that, like, okay, my mom realized that I've told that story around her, and she denies it, like that it ever happened.
But it's like one of the most formative parts of your youth. How could it be wrong?
Definitely happened. I remember. But it is a very, very, it's a very weird thing to think back to those years and remember how many times you were caught, I was caught daydreaming in class or not doing my homework or whatever it was, and countless lectures from teachers pulling me out into the hallway and being like, do you know how hard it is to do this? It's not gonna, it's not gonna pan out the way you want it. You need fallbacks, and the whole time head is filled in the with clouds and just whatever. And fast forward to 21, signed my first publishing, my only publishing deal, and I thought, you're all wrong, And then 3 years later, the publishing deals are drying up.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm looking back, going, oh, so I didn't know everything, and that's what you learn as you get older, is that, it is hard. It's not hard because, again, like I've had bouts of different feelings in my life and different phases where I've thought the system's rigged, and nobody can do it, and you got to be this, you got to be that, and really it's all business. And if you don't seem, for whatever reason, like a safe bet to a label, or they're not going to sign you.
No, you're out.
And that's not their fault.
Which is so weird, because I think you and I would look at other artists and be like, who the hell would ever put money behind this thing that's about to implode on itself?
Yeah, and tons of artists that we would look at and be like, why aren't they famous?
Why aren't they the biggest thing in the world?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And it's all timing. It's all timing, vibe, and what whoever you're targeting is looking for at that moment.
Yep. Right place, right time.
Right place, right time. That's a big part of it. And honestly, you have to be every bit as good at writing, at the writing songs part as you are going into a room and saying, "Hey, it's good to see you."
Yeah.
Like that part is almost more important now.
Yes.
Like it's very, and that's the part I'm not so good at.
Well, it's kind of falling to the wayside because, like, yeah, you and I are kind of on like the tip of the millennial iceberg, where it's like we couldn't have had our entire lives wrapped up in technology because it didn't exist.
Right,
like we were around as it was coming of age too.
Right.
So like we actually had to develop social skills, or we didn't have Instagram to get followers or friends or like any of those kinds of things. I thought it was interesting how you brought up that there would be these authority figures in your life that would sort of pull you out of school. My principal did the exact same thing to me. And looking back on that now, it makes me think, especially hearing your story, like I think what they're trying to do is, with their finite knowledge of the world and their care and concern for you, they're trying to lend you their life perspective on just how hard shit is when you're in the real world.
Yeah.
And what we hear, because we have no life experience whatsoever, we're still in school.
Yet.
We hear you're incapable.
Yeah.
You're incapable of doing what you want to do.
Exactly.
And of achieving this goal that you have. And it's like, you're hearing this from the same people that are like, you can do anything you want with an education.
Right. Yeah. and that's the thing. You can actually do anything you want with education. Yes. You cannot do anything you want with talent. That's the realistic, I'm sorry kids to burst your bubble, but like that's the real story. And like when you look back when I look back at those times, like I said, I just want to go back and like shake that little asshole, like, and be like,
it sounds like a rap lyric.
Listen, listen to him. He's telling you the truth.
Yeah.
Like, pay attention.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part, is knowing, when to, sorry, I'm getting software job things too, so a little distracted.
Yeah, that's all good.
But no, that's the hard part is like, I have kids. I want to be able to put that knowledge on them. I want to be able to say those same things to them, and have them not feel beaten down. I want them to know early, like, hey, that's great. If you want to pursue something, you want to pursue a dream, that's great. But also, like, pay attention.
Yeah, don't feel overwhelmed with reality. Feel empowered by it.
Exactly.
Like now you know where to go. Now you know just how hard it's going to be.
Yeah, and when you're a kid, all you see are these stories, behind the music on VH1 that used to be a thing,
Yes,
and you're like,
I watched it all the time.
And they're just like, man, I just everyone told me I couldn't do it, and then I just sold all my stuff. And I moved to New York.
I made a bunch of irresponsible decisions, and now I'm famous.
Yeah, and I ate ramen for a week, and I was playing in the club, and then this guy walked in and said, "Hey, here's a record deal." You know what I mean? Like, and that's what you hear, and so you're like, "That I could do that. I could totally do that." And what you see is that, but you don't see the other side at that young, very naive, wide-eyed age. Like you don't see that 10,000 people did the same thing that year.
And it didn't turn out for them.
And it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying don't chase your dreams. It's like, it's just always have something to fall back on. You know what I mean? I guess what I'm saying, have two things that you love a lot rather than just one. It's a big world out there. It is.
There's so much fun to be had.
Exactly. And I found branding to be another passion of mine. Like that's what I do day to day. Like that's my job. And I love it, honestly. I mean, I don't love it every bit as much as music, but I love it.
See, that's really interesting. I feel like songwriting could be a way of explaining songwriting could be providing cohesion to an internal narrative, to internal thoughts and feelings that you have.
Yeah.
And putting those in a digestible format for other people.
Yeah.
And I would describe branding as the same thing, just inserting that with visual elements.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to convey an idea or a thought or feeling or... Yeah.
So what you're telling us, Matt, is that we can use our skills on multiple levels.
By our powers combined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at now. I'm 32 years old. I realized that
I am too.
Nice. Yeah. There. 30. When did you turn 32?
We made it. I'm a Scorpio.
Okay.
I'm in November.
Yeah, I'm a Gemini, so another personality could pop out at any moment. So just
any minute
just
now.
wait. Yeah. Yeah. Me and Kanye and Donald Trump, all the best like people in the world are Geminis. But it is a weird thing to be 32 years old and stop and go, man, I had all these moments in life where I was so bitter and where I realized, or where I was just, I thought it was just the suits, man. The suits wouldn't let me up. They wouldn't let me up the ladder. Yeah. Man, keeping me down, like that sort of thing. And just like, and it was, and I just kind of look back at that and laugh because now I realize now it's not that I wasn't good enough. It's not that I wasn't, whatever. It's just, it was timing. It was, where I was in life. It's just a lot of things come into play.
So what would have been one of those moments? What would you consider to be maybe one of the lowest or most defeating moments that you've had on your path to being a singer, songwriter, a musical personality? We've had a fuck ton of them.
Yeah. That's like walking me into, the New York, like Duncan's toy chest, like from Home Alone.
Oh my God, what a reference.
And saying, pick one,
Yeah.
Pick one toy.
Yeah.
There's so many. There really are a lot of moments. And, I think that, I think one of the lowest was feeling, it was at the very, I had just met my wife now.
Yeah.
We were, dating, I think we've been dating about 6 months, and that was right about the time I met Sabrina was when the publishing deal kind of started to dry up.
Yeah.
And by dry up, I mean, I wasn't getting a lot of writing sessions. I wasn't getting, cuts on records. And, and so a song that I had written, I tell this story live a lot when I play it, but I had written a song that I wanted to be pitched to Alison Krauss.
Yep.
And excuse me, sorry. And so I had written the song that I wanted to pitch to Alison Krauss, and they, the powers that be, did not allow it to get to Alison Krauss before it got to it landed on the desk of Atlantic Records, and they wanted to use it for their newest signed artist, Jason Castro, who was the 8th runner-up for American Idol that year. So right then and there, it was just, I just signed my deal, and I was like, and I was learning a hard lesson about compromise.
Yep.
Because I was like, that's not where I want this song to go.
Yep.
And it had to. And that was when I learned that, every 21-year-old kid has a price for selling out.
Yep.
And it's really not that much. Like, that doesn't take a lot. And so, but that moment wasn't the bad. So fast forward, and we're in I'm walking around in Goodwill, and I'm looking to flip through the CDs, and I find, not one, but 3 of Jason Castro's like CDs, and I flip them over, and there's my song on the back, and I was just like, it wasn't a Gin Blossoms album. It hadn't been out for 10 years.
Right.
This has been out for 3 years, maybe. At this point. So it's like, it ending up in Goodwill was like, and seeing it there, it was just kind of one of those things like, okay, this song that I had all these hopes and dreams for, I had this big idea for it, and, it ended up on this record that went nowhere,
Do you feel like you put some of your vanity into that song?
Yeah.
And how you hoped it would affect the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I did. Like, I'd written that song, and I thought, man, this is like, and it's still one of my more popular songs. You Can Always Come Home. Like, people still ask for that years later, even at Young Mister shows.
Yeah.
But, I look back at that time, and I think, where I remember that moment, it was kind of just it was like the signs were flashing at that point.
Yeah.
Like, you might want to just pick a path for a little while, because like things are, music's not going to treat you very nice for a little bit.
Yeah. So that's actually true. I feel like as, maybe to channel the outside listener to the conversation, there's some people that would be like, Steve, don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
You got a cut on a major release that came out.
Right.
And a lot of people got to hear that song.
Right.
And there's so many kids that are just pounding away at their acoustic guitars in their basements right now who got paid peanuts for a publishing deal, who are like living in poverty in Los Angeles right now because they're working for some other artist who doesn't give a shit about them. And they're hoping that they can get a cut like that. Just something to help them make it, like, pay rent.
Right.
Like this next month.
But see, I'll answer that with one thing.
Okay.
One, I kind of am an asshole.
Okay.
Like, two, I don't know a lot of musicians that aren't. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Especially with musicians and songwriters that are trying to propel their career forward, and they get to a point where, you know, I don't know what's worse.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's worse, never getting it.
Yeah.
Or plateauing much earlier than you think, you know? And again, now I'm in a totally different place. Like that, like, I was a much bigger asshole than I am now. And like, and that was so that was a moment where I felt kind of dead inside. Yeah. Now I look back at my life and, you know, have you ever watched the documentary Still Bill about Bill Withers?
No.
It's amazing.
Okay.
And Bill Withers was watching that documentary was one of my big kind of like checkpoints in life, honestly, like ego checks.
All right. What is this called? Still Bill?
Still Bill. Yeah. Okay. And Bill Withers said something, that I'll never forget. He said, you know, I tell my kids all the time that you can set your sights on amazing. Yeah. And I'm paraphrasing because, you know, I don't remember the exact words, but he said, you can set your sights on amazing, but before you get there, you're going to go through all right. And he's like, and you need to stop, take a good look around, because that might become your amazing. You know, like, I could cry thinking about it now.
Wow.
Because when I heard that, I was like, I was weeping and also simultaneously like beating up the little like shithead that I was, like, when I was like, you know, in my early 20s, like thinking the world owed me all of this success. Yes. You know, and that is, you know, and I've had countless really great opportunities that have been like, you know, people would that from the outside, you know, they'd be like, that's amazing. I'd give anything to be there. I ended up sort of almost writing songs with Art Garfunkel. Yeah. Right. And he turned out to be very hard to work with. Yeah. And it was really defeating. Yeah. So at the same time, when people are like, God, I would love to meet Art Garfunkel. You're like, I was kind of like, well, okay. You know what I mean? Like you would, but you know what I mean? Like you would say that, but at the same time, it's really difficult to put yourself in my position where I was there. Yeah. I tried to make the best of that situation, and I tried to do everything to make it happen. Like to get like basically what, you know, he was giving me poetry and I was trying to turn it into music. None of it worked out. And then we were supposed to go to Nashville and then, and get the studio, and Art, you know, very kind of last minute canceled. Yeah. He said he got cold feet. You know, and like, you know what I mean? That's a crushing thing.
He could have just wanted to do cocaine.
He doesn't do cocaine.
I got cold feet.
Yeah, no, I promise you that Art Garfunkel does not do cocaine. Right. But, you know, that's the thing. It's like, you know, and I, you know, truth be told, I had a lot of desperation at that point because of where I was.
So the stakes felt really high to you.
The stakes felt really high, and when that came down, you know, when that opportunity went out into the air, you know, and just never came back, that was a crushing blow, you know? So it's like, so it's easy to say, you know, it's easy. And I don't understand why people think that. You're like, well, I would give anything to be in that point, to have that publishing deal, to do that. At the same time, on the other side of it, when it all falls apart, you know, for reasons beyond your knowledge, that's hard to deal with.
I feel like your circumstances change, but we continue to pull our same perspective with us. We drag the old perspective of things, the old perspective of success, of what we think is going to make us happy with us into the next phase. So it's literally just like a reset. Right. Like, so I look back on all the things that we were able to do in the band, and I know that there are thousands of other bands that probably deserve to get signed more than we did. We're better songwriters, better performers, better singers, better everything. Right. And then I think about how little I enjoyed all of it while it was happening. When the big opportunities came along, how I was always looking forward to what the next thing was, or felt like it was like, well, I got to maintain this.
Yeah.
And now, then what's next? Instead of just being like fucking grateful.
Yeah.
Like that I was there and realizing that like this is something I dreamed of as a child.
Right.
Of just being able to have an audience, to be able to write songs and share them with the world and have this connection that I experienced from bands when I was growing up. I remember sitting in my bedroom feeling like these bands and these songwriters who were writing these songs and putting whatever this craziness was out into the world, that I had something in common with them because I felt connected to what they were doing.
Right. Yeah.
And all I really wanted to do, if I could whittle it down, was provide that connection, keep the connection going.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's so easy to lose sight of that really simple thing.
It's very easy.
When you're like, well, there's money involved.
Right.
What is my value? Like, what am I worth? If we don't charge this much for people to get into a show, or we play with this local band,
right,
what are people going to think? Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
That's all like your ego trying to like maintain itself. Like
100% it is. Yeah. And
it's crazy.
Do you know why that is? Do you know what we actually are, Matt?
Please tell me.
We're recovering gambling addicts. Like,
okay.
That's exactly, we're gamblers. Every musician, every person who's trying to go for it and putting dollar after dollar after dollar in the slot with no promise of it ever returning, there is, you know what I mean? Like there is a difference in us and a gambler because we have a passion.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like we have a passion and a dream and we want to connect with people, but at the same time, the money side of it and even the emotional fulfillment sometimes, we're gamblers. You know what I mean? We put ourselves out there and we continue to push and push and push and push, always trying to get to that next level and telling yourself, well, you got to spend money to make money. You know, no business ever turned a profit in 5 years. You know, like all that stuff.
It's so true.
But at the same time, you know, and again, like I just have I live now. You know, my wife and I live on. We live in this is actually a tiny house. We live, you know, on a little stream, like up in the mountains.
On the back of the turtle from Neverending Story.
Yes, basically. I mean, it looks like Narnia, especially when it snows. Like, you honestly can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
And it's just great. I mean, I'm so grateful for everything that I have now. That, like, you know, every time something happens good with music now, it's just such a, you know, I've taken the. And I think I've probably learned this from my German family on my wife's side. Expect nothing, and when good things happen, you're surprised.
Yes,
like, you know what I mean. And
lower the bar.
Exactly, lower the bar
for happiness.
It's great. And honestly, when you do that for yourself, like, because lowering the bar for happiness, it sounds funny and it sounds like whatever. Like, but at the same time, it doesn't take that much to be happy. When you break it all down. It doesn't take that much to make the everyday human being actually happy.
Yeah.
Like, it's not money. It's not, you know, I understand comfort and security, and that all ties into happiness. And I know that.
Yeah.
But it's not money. It sure as hell isn't fame.
Yeah.
I mean, I have famous friends that are far more miserable than I am. And you know what I mean? And it just doesn't, all the things that you've told yourself since you were a kid about this dream, all that stuff, you know, doesn't add up.
Yeah.
You know, when you have the same, and that's what I kind of had this aha moment when I started thinking about, it's kind of crazy that we as kids, you know, we have this dream when we're 14.
Yeah.
And then we still have the same dream when we're in our 30s. We're like, that, something's not right there. Like, you know what I mean? Because, like, you know, when I was, you know, when I was 6 years old, there was that thing from Step Brothers, I wanted to be a dinosaur.
Yeah.
You know? like, you know, like,
oh my God, it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
You know, it's like, I wanted to be a dinosaur, you know, like, and, you know, that was true for me also when I was a child. I wanted to be a dinosaur.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can't be a dinosaur.
Right.
Like, and it's not necessarily the same thing, but it's like, you know, having the same dream your whole life, and not allowing your maturity in life circumstances to adapt, you know what I mean? Like to kind of like change that and alter that a little bit along the way. You kind of limit yourself. And
you don't realize when you're a kid that what you actually want is freedom from all of that bullshit.
Yeah.
You don't realize that what you really want is the death of ego. You want to be able to wake up and not feel like you have to get in front of X number 100,000 of people to feel fulfilled or to feel validated or to feel like you want. What you really want is to be free of all that stuff.
And when people
when I talk to artists who are like, well, you know, I just really, but there's nothing wrong with like running a great business, running a great band/brand, and figuring out how to make that work for you. If you're just in it to be famous, I feel like to me, that's the equivalent of being like, I just love overeating. Or I love over drinking.
Exactly.
I love just getting completely shit-faced on the weekends. Well, look, it's just irresponsible with your mind.
Yeah.
In the same way that you can be irresponsible with your body, like to want something so vacuous for the sake of it, just to feel that empty validation of like, so what if 1 million people have their eyes focused on you right now? Are you making their lives any better?
Yeah.
Are you just like providing more of a reason for them to waste time on something unimportant? And as an artist, and it's like, even with this podcast and like everything that we do, I'm completely aware for some people it's a waste of time. Like that might be a little bit meta.
I was kind of like, I was sitting here and I did feel like I was stepping into the Matrix when you said that. Like, I don't know what that means, but that's how I felt.
Yeah, I think we got close to something and then got kicked out of it. They're like, which pill did you take?
yeah, that's what it felt like.
Yeah, but like, what does it really mean? Well, I can say that for me, and I say this because I want to hear what you think about it. But like, there are things that do make me happy, whether or not anybody hears what I make. I'm happiest when I've created a song I'm proud of.
Right.
When I've written a song that I'm happy with, or when I go spend time with friends at the lake during the summer, when I'm cooking out, when I'm grilling out, when I'm having exactly what we're talking about at the beginning of our conversation, cookouts and cigars.
Exactly. That's like, that is my, I mean, honestly, I will say this, I did know from the time I was a teenager that all I ever wanted to be was a grandfather. So now I'm living my best self in that life right now. Like,
wow.
You know, like I am like, you know, I live like, I get it. I drink a glass of scotch at 5 o'clock every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's my life. I'm very happy with it. Yeah. And it's, you know, honestly, what it all comes down to is, you know, exactly what you said. And there is always going to be unhappiness in life. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean just like times when you're unhappy. You are, and every human being, if you say you're not, you're lying to yourself. Like, there is a baseline, like, amount of unhappiness that travels with you on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And all life is trying to just bury that down as much as possible. And you can get, and you know what I mean? And like, I just, you know, I wake up in the morning and I'm not saying that you're unhappy, but there's always some kind of void that you're going to want to fill. There's always some kind of thing that you're going to be missing. But the idea is that the way to get through life is to just accept that, move on, and do the things that make you happy. And if touring all over the world and going broke makes you happy, like, then do it. And I know people that's what makes them happy. And that's fantastic.
Yes.
And I celebrate that. You know, then they wouldn't be doing anything else. They wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I would. You know what I mean? And I realize that. I realize that for me, my happiness doesn't work in a 15 passenger van. You know what I mean? It doesn't work out too well. I end up having a nervous breakdown and and you know, calling my wife in New York and telling her to come pick me up from the airport in Charlotte in 2 hours.
Right.
Like, you know.
But would you trade those experiences that brought you to that realization?
No,
because I think when you and I were both 15, we were like, oh my God, if somebody would give me just an opportunity to spend my life in a van.
Right.
And just reenact the Newfound Glory DVD I just saw.
Exactly.
Yes.
All you wanted was that van.
Yep.
You know, and I'm totally with you. And that brings me to my next point is that all of that emotional struggle that when I say like, I want to go back and shake that kid, at the same time, I don't even know if I would be as happy as I am now if I didn't go through all that shit then, because with emotional struggle comes character and strength. Yes. So, I like to think, I'm still working on, certain parts of my ego, as most people who play music do, yes. You have to have an ego.
Of course.
You have to be able to get on stage and have basically what you're doing when you get on stage is everybody shut up and listen to me because what I have to say is amazing.
Because I rehearsed to be here and all you did was buy a ticket.
Like, check it out, guys. Look at me, what I'm doing.
Right.
That's what performance art is.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. And if you say it's not, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
But for me, I've always struggled with the live performance. There'd be times where I'd be like really on.
Yep. And
there'd be times where, there's a great Larry David thing where he used to like sometimes walk on stage at a comedy club and he'd look around the crowd and go, never mind, and leave. Like he'd be like, no, it's not going to work. Like he'd know the crowd. Like he'd see the crowd and be like, not worth my time. Like, he'd say that and walk off stage. There are times where I've felt that, like I've gotten on stage and been like, oh God. And I've never done that. I've never done that. Never had that much Larry David.
Because then you don't get paid.
Yeah.
Like Larry David doesn't have to get paid for something
anyway.
Like, I kind of love that.
Take whatever you can give me.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to sit here and do my thing. There have also been times where I feel like when 11D was touring and doing all that stuff all the time, there are times where we would like stand up in front of an audience or a crowd, and I would feel that way, and I would feel like, oh my God, I'm empty. I have nothing I like feel the most vulnerable that I've ever felt. And I'm just going to sit here and close my eyes and play our songs, and hopefully something good happens. And then sitting in that moment for a minute, almost like feeling what everyone's feeling.
Right.
And just like, well, if I feel that way, maybe there's some people here that feel like, shit, why am I here? Why now I have to be around all these people, and I feel that way too.
Yeah.
And somehow, within 5-10 minutes, something does happen.
Yeah.
The wave comes back around.
It can.
The carousel circles. It doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen every time.
The wave can come.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just like sometimes the sun comes out when it's raining. It doesn't always happen, but eventually.
I love that.
Yeah, but that's where I'm very happy now. Like I'm extremely happy now. I'm very very thankful for it. Just like I said, just everything that comes my way. I take it. I take everything that everyone tells me in the music industry. I take it with a grain of salt, and then I slice that into thirds.
Put it in a margarita.
Yeah, and then take a shot of tequila, and then lick my finger, and then you know what I mean. And no. I take everything everyone tells you in the music industry for what it is, and that's like, just it's not like people think like, oh, these executives like they bullshitted me. They said they were interested, and then they weren't. Yeah. Blah blah. Like no, they were interested. It just didn't work for whatever reason, And now whenever I have meetings or whatever, I'm just talking. And honestly, the people that succeed the most are the ones that figure that out really early in life. Yeah. They're the ones that when they walk in, they don't have the reeking stench of desperation, they're the guys that walk through the hallways, like in high school going, you know what? I really hope I get a prom date, but I'm not going to let anybody know that I hope I get a prom date. It's going to look like to everyone else. It's going to look like I don't fucking care. Yeah.
Be willing to walk away from the table.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if somebody's offering you the keys to the kingdom.
It's honestly all about the amount of confidence that you have, and I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm talking about confidence. There's a difference. Like, and so, sometimes there isn't, but something
that stems from self-value.
Exactly.
From I don't need to be validated.
I'm going to walk out of this room the same person that I was regardless, with a contract or not. And so, that's the thing. Like that, what I'm getting at is that when I walk into those rooms, I'm thankful that I had the meeting. Yeah. I'm thankful that I got to meet this person and have a good conversation. If it was a good conversation, like I'm very thankful for that experience. And and that's, that's in a nutshell where I am in life, and it feels great. Like, it feels really
I know
good.
so many people that are in our situations right now where it's like I feel like we've probably experienced varying degrees of success at different times, like within the music industry. But even now, like looking back, I'm the most happy with what I'm creating now.
Yeah.
And I don't have people putting hundreds of thousands of dollars behind it like I used to. And I look back on other stuff that I did and I'm like, oh my God, what garbage to put marketing behind.
Yeah. You're telling me.
Just like your perspective changes so much, but still there are other people that are like, whatever. I would say anything for that opportunity.
Right.
Just to have that life on steroids moment.
Right.
And say I did it and just internalize it and soak it in and then move on and go back to working IT.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say like, to anybody who's listening, if you're a musician, whatever, whenever anybody asks me like what's the advice, and I've spoken to classrooms and done, done conferences and spoken on panels and whatever. And whenever anybody asks me like moving forward, what would you say to me? Like, what's the biggest piece of advice? And I love that question because my first answer is a half joke, and it's choose another career. The second is the real piece of advice, which is say yes, regret nothing. Like, say yes to people, show up to the rooms to write, no matter if you think it's a waste of your time or not. Yep. Like, take every opportunity you can. And because the thing that you don't realize now is that, and maybe you're smarter than I was. I'm sure that's very possible. But, the thing that you don't realize now, or, now going into this is that the guy that works as an intern at BMI that is trying to hook you up with one of his friends to write or whatever, somebody he knows, that guy might be the next president, possibly and probably will be the next president of Capitol Records. They change hands, they succeed, they grow, and then that all of a sudden that guy that you have said yes to and proven that you'll show up and do the job is now working at a label. You know what I mean? And
that's so true.
And it's like, and it's all about, it's the same thing with any other business. Like, do what you say you're going to do, say yes to things.
Yep.
Be happy for the opportunities you have.
Yeah.
And don't regret it.
I love that. But I love that advice. So we were talking, we started hitting on this a little bit before we even started recording the podcast, but one of the things we love asking people that come on the show is like, where do you think love comes from?
Where do I think love comes from?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll take Kevin Malone's answer from The Office. Like,
okay.
A little bit your heart and a little bit your penis. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I love it.
No, I just binge The Office just time after time.
This can't be the first time. Yeah, I was going to say.
I mean, it's just like, I just love that show. It's so well written. But when he said that, I was like, okay.
I'm going to make a joke.
I remember this thing and it fits right in here. So in what context? Like,
whichever context you want.
I mean,
where do you think it comes from? Some people give like super religious answers.
Do you mean like where it stems from, or what does love mean? Like,
God, maybe both. Maybe start with one and end with the other.
I mean, love to me means just understanding, and honestly, I heard a quote, and not to cop out and be like, well, someone else said this really good thing. So
you're full of these quotes. I love it.
Like, but I'm going to tell you that like most people in the world are smarter than I am. So like when I hear a quote that I'm like, yeah, that's it.
It's like skipping to the head of the line, like with an understanding
totally,
of something.
I couldn't have said that better. Like, yes. I'm just going to use that, and I'm not going to pretend I said it. But I can't remember who said this quote, but it's like, true love is when silence between two people is comfortable. So like, you know what I mean? So so when you're comfortable just being quiet, with the person that you love, and I think that's one of the things I realized with my wife that was different than a lot of other people is that when the room gets quiet, it doesn't feel weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel weird. And you don't feel the need to try to start a conversation.
To entertain or maintain.
You just, when it gets quiet, that's okay, you know, and it feels peaceful, and you feel like you're right where you should be. And when I heard that, I wasn't with my wife when I heard that quote. And many years later, I met Sabrina.
Yeah.
And that was quite the life changer. Like realizing like, oh.
Were you with someone that it put into perspective that maybe they weren't for you?
Yeah. And I stayed with that person for another 3 years. So
I did the same damn thing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, who are we?
Yeah.
The same person.
Yeah. We're artists, and I say that in quotes. Like, you know, that I'm not saying we're not artists. I'm just saying like the quotes are for the other side of the art. It's like the personality of an artist. You know, and it's just, the word love stems from. It's unexplainable to me.
Okay,
to be honest.
Yeah,
I don't. You know, I believe, and the reason that it's unexplainable is because I do believe in the presence of something. I was leading worship and co-leading worship for a long time as a Christian, through my teenage years. I grew up in a Christian school and I grew up in the church.
Yeah. And
I think that somewhere along the lines, or somewhere along the way, I had this realization that I didn't really align with, the only thing that I really aligned myself with was the bare bones basic teachings of Christ, which is in a lot of other religions.
Sure.
So the Bible and everything else to me kind of just went out the window. I was like, I don't think that, I don't think that gay people are going to hell.
Right.
Like, I don't think that, I don't know if I believe in a conventional hell. I don't know if I believe in a God that demands that you worship him. Like, these are things that bothered me. I was like I had all these like David Bazan moments where, I was like, you can't, why is he so arrogant? Why is he asking me to like worship him all the time? Like, and then all of a sudden these songs that I started singing sounded really creepy. Like, like, like
they all kind of sound like metal tunes.
Like, but they're just like so, they're very dramatic.
Yeah.
And they just started to be like, you know what? I believe in a God. I don't think we just snap, here we are, but that's not to say that there's not something else that we can't explain. I guess that's my whole point, is that my theory about God is that God and religion is man's attempt to understand something that is not understandable. Sorry. With our minds. Yeah. Right. So, where love does stem from that force, whatever created us, like whatever boomed us into existence. And I say that very scientifically because I do believe that.
Whatever boomed us.
Yeah. But I do believe that, it's like this, it's like a mixture of science and magic,
alchemy.
Yeah, like it's very
the alchemy of our generation.
Yeah, like it is very like it's a mixture of science and magic. Like love is like that's where it comes from. It comes from to me this like thing that I think we're born again with this. We're born with this thing that always is in us of like find something else, find something, find deeper meaning.
Yeah,
and love is part of that.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I love that answer. Are you, so a huge part of the podcast is us sort of discovering our own narrative of maybe, and Davey and I talk about this a lot too, whereas I feel like I'm at a place where I don't really know, I have more questions than answers.
Yeah.
And the podcast for me has been sort of therapy. We're talking to different people and exploring different ideas. And so I love hearing I love hearing people's thoughtful interpretation of the reality around them.
Right.
And I don't really care what that is or where it came from. I just I'm just interested in hearing all of it.
Yeah.
And I'm at this place in my life now where I grew up probably really similar to you. I went to a private school. I was on the worship team when I was in church, and it was like that was my social hub. It was like I looked forward to it so much.
Yeah, well, I'm right there with you.
And
buddy.
I just like I thought this was like the end all be all of everything, and like maybe at some point I could be in a band, and I would come back and end up maybe I would go the way of every other Christian rocker and get a job leading worship at a mega church somewhere and just live a cushy, comfortable life.
Right.
And I could have never guessed that all of my experiences would lead me to be like, most of this is bullshit. I want nothing to do with it. And that's not where my life is going to go. And even if I wanted to try to go back to it, I couldn't because it would tear me apart from the inside. I don't know if I could call myself a Christian at this point, but I do find power in the narrative of Christ.
Right.
And I'm not anti-Christian.
Right. Exactly. I'm not anti-Christian.
No. I'm just like anti my experience. I want to create a better world than the one that gave me the experiences that I had.
Right.
Where do you fall on that? I ask you as somebody who like we both grew up really similarly.
Dude, I'm the same. I'm kind of in the same boat. I have this. There's a lyric actually in a David Bazan song that says, "Why are some hell bent upon there being an answer, while some are quite content to answer I don't know."
Curse your branches.
Yeah, and curse your branches, right? So it's like I have that feeling like I'm okay with not knowing, and it doesn't affect me day to day, and it doesn't affect me long term to answer, I don't know, and no one's gonna really know, and that's the thing. So I don't want to waste my time worrying about how I got here. I just want to know that I'm here, and I'm gonna make the most of my time and spread as much love and positivity as I possibly can.
I don't want to waste it.
Exactly.
I don't want to get to the end of my life and then look back on it and be like, well, God, I missed the point, and I didn't have any fun.
Yeah, and the whole time you were trying to, even if you're part of the, and I'm not saying this as an offense to anybody, but even if you're part of a mega church, one of the cool contemporary, the hip Christians, if you're one of those Christians. You're still spending your life trying to win souls over to Christ. You know what I mean? And for me, I just think there's a lot more pressing issues that need to be dealt with right now. And so for I don't want to waste time thinking about the afterlife. I want to use this life to do as much good as I can and connect with as many people as I can. And to a friend of mine, Josh Kaler, says, share your gift, as a joke, but that's what I mean. Like, to share my gift, that's what I want. That's where I fall. I fall in the category of not knowing and completely okay with that. That said, I will say that if there was a church that was loosely based around just the teachings of Christ,
sure.
And it wasn't a conventional, like, you go and then you sing these weird songs, and no offense, sorry, like, you sing these songs that kind of, to me, feel like really dramatic. You don't go do that stuff and then someone talks at you for an hour.
Right.
I would more like, it's almost like group therapy in that, like, if it were more like a come together, let's do something for the community, and then let's all be in different small groups every week. You know what I mean? And talk to each other about what's going on in our lives and how we can help each other. Like,
Facebook is listening to your conversation right now, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get an ad for this church.
Like for what church? Oh, for
whichever
some church,
one you're describing. Yeah.
No, I've looked into, and I tell my wife this, and she's like, "So you want to be a Quaker?" And I'm like, I guess so. Like, yeah, bring it on.
I love it.
But yeah, I mean, and I would love to sit around and sing positive songs together, and like really, and I know this sounds like one big hippie commune, but like at the same time, like, I'm not really against that. Like that I think gets more done, just minus the pot smoking and not doing anything,
holding it more loosely.
Yeah, just more. It's more a community working together and, basing their work in the community off of the teachings of Christ, and not really like, hey, you have to believe in Christ, or like, your skin's going to burn for like a long time.
What if the teachings of Christ define the things that you love and not the things that you hate? And what if we weren't allowed to express Christ in hate of any form? And like it's these kinds of questions that make me wonder if I would be so much more like open to Christianity.
Yeah.
If the expression of it was like, if that was my encounter with it.
Yeah.
Because I'm
gonna be honest with you. I mean, I think there's a lot of churches out there that's what Christianity is about. It's not about what they hate. There's a lot of contemporary churches out there. Yeah. Now that, they still have the big praise band and they don't talk about negative things, and they kind of, it's sort of, all the negative stuff in the Bible is like, let's just just close that door. Right. We just won't talk about that. You know? And if someone brings it up, we'll address it then. But, it's like, it's not, there are churches like that, I'm sure. I just, again, I guess I just view, Christ as more of a prophet, I guess, like in some that had a lot of really great things to say, and a lot of light to share. Yeah. But I'm not certain about the Son of God and all of that narrative. I don't, I don't relate to it anymore, and I don't feel moved by it. I feel moved by, his teachings of love and acceptance and, all the things that seemingly a lot of Christians have forgotten about. Yeah. Like or use it to whatever suits them, but again, I'll say it again. I think there are a lot of churches out there now that would be exactly what you described. But for me, I can't get into the rest of the song and dance, no pun intended, about it.
Yeah. We have an episode of the podcast coming out at some point. It might even come out next week, I'm not sure, but I talked to a friend of mine, Blake, who has this podcast called Exvangelical. Okay. And so basically just exploring his journey outside of evangelicalism, and where he's just kind of like, I can't buy into it anymore, like just what I'm seeing in the world and the history of it and all this other stuff. Really, really great podcast to check out. But he and I were able to have this conversation, and I was like, I just get so tired of feeling like all it takes for me to not be a part of your tribe or your group anymore is just to simply say, I don't believe this one thing. And then all of a sudden it's over. Right. I like our connection it doesn't matter how human or how interconnected we become. Like my experience in life has been, at some point I'll say something that offends you. I will not be able to buy into the rhetoric. I will not be able to say I know for sure. I'll not be able to sign your document. I'll not be able to say that I know that I know that I know, and I never, like just, I don't want to ask that of other people, because it's only separated me from the very people who were like, we've got it. We have this community is important. This church is important. Like what we do here is important. Right. Yeah. And that's awesome. It just might not be for me. Right. Yeah. And that's where I am. I mean, I personally think though, I think that if you are a Christian, which means that you want to be like Christ. Right. So, if you're a Christian and you drop the baggage because you drop the bags, because something happened and it changed your whole perspective on Christianity. I don't think that's something. I think that you like, and that's where I come to question the whole thing. It's like, if you're a Christian and you believe in the teachings of Christ, then other people's actions shouldn't make you question that. Like. It wasn't Jesus that did that. Right. It wasn't, it wasn't anybody but those other people. Yeah. And they're human beings, literally specimens that were brought into this world to fuck up. Yeah. And so you can't really base your religious views on, or, your faith. You can't base your faith on what other people are doing to ruin it for you. Yeah, absolutely. And so, that's why for me, it was, it sparked something, looking around, but ultimately I didn't leave the Christian faith because, there were a bunch of people out there like saying things and doing things that didn't line up with Christianity. Sure. And actually what what the whole point of it is, it was because I felt I didn't feel it anymore. I felt like I had almost grown out of it, almost. So like you felt your way out of it, or you thought your way out of it? I mean, I kind of
a little bit of both. I mean, it just kind of felt like Santa Claus. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to diminish anybody's thoughts, but like that's what it felt like for me. It just felt like I've believed this thing for so long. I've never really questioned it.
Yeah.
And now that I'm questioning it, I'm kind of like, you look at the facts, and there's all of these religions that basically tell the same story, and all these things that kind of line up with Christianity that predate Christianity, and you're like, somebody's not telling the truth, like, and so, and that's, I just kind of think, and then you learn, I didn't learn until much later in life that, about Constantine and, whatever the council and all the,
Council of
Nicaea, all that stuff, like, didn't come to me until later in life. And I'm like, okay, like, I can't really have blind faith in this anymore because the facts are really pointing.
You have too much information.
Yeah. I'm examining the facts, I'm like looking at the facts like, okay, like, I know the facts and I'm voting no, like, like that, I can't really do it. But on that same topic, I think Christianity can be a wonderful, wonderful thing for people. And I think I have a lot of Christian friends that I've had this very conversation with and haven't offended any of them. And
I love hearing that,
I mean, there are other Christian friends that have been offended, but we're not so close. But I've had this conversation with a lot of my Christian friends, and they have. Sorry, I'm not sure if you noticed. I've been hitting puberty like time and time again.
It's all good.
Through this whole
what
podcast.
The podcast is for.
So, but it's not. It's impossible for me to say. It's impossible for me to tell someone like Christianity doesn't do any good, because it does. It does amazing things. It pulls. I mean, it gives and donates to third world countries. Like, regardless of if the guy has to read the Bible to get a meal, like he's still getting a meal. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you can't take the good out of it. You can't take the good out of missionary work. You can't take the good from some guy that is powerless to his drug addiction and then finds Christianity and is automatically, like snapped, like, or maybe it took a little bit, but like through the power of Christ, through the power of Christ, he's able to not use heroin anymore. Like, there's a lot of things that Christianity is powerful for, and it's not just stuff like that. It's not extremes. Sometimes it's what holds families together.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
Not a terrible thing. Like, it's a great thing that there's that community that, they can be a part of. But anyway, I'm not against Christianity or, any religion that doesn't, have extreme circumstances. But
for sure.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's it, man. I just kind of, it's something I like. It's so crazy. Like, I'm agnostic. Like, I call myself agnostic.
Yeah. Like,
for the most part, but I'm also like kind of passionate about being agnostic. It's weird. Like, it's like,
let's just stay on the road.
Yeah.
Like, let's just, because I would have never, like, 15-year-old Matt would think that 32-year-old Matt is a heretic asshole that's probably going to burn alive for eternity, and he's leading everyone astray and just marching everyone who listens to him straight into the pit of hell right alongside of him. And also has a pet dragon.
Yeah.
But
that's why I'm following you.
Right. But that's not true, and I don't know where I'm going to be 30 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, what our understanding of life is going to be, and of spirituality and of God, and or what it all means, or where it all comes from, where it's all going. Yeah. That kind of stuff.
No, we line up, like a lot of this stuff. I think the moral of the story is that anyone who's questioning themselves or doubting their life, just move to Canton, North Carolina. And all of your dreams will come true.
They will.
Yeah. Like,
that's been the case so far.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of that was really heavy. What is something that always, under any circumstance in your life, makes you just so happy you can't even...
Scotch.
Yeah.
I mean, that, yes. But no, actually, just, it's a lot of little things, like, my wife is one of those things. My life.
She's tiny. She's Thumbelina.
Yeah, not like it's not like my love and my wife. My marriage is like a small thing, but it's just like a lot of.
It's a simple thing.
Yeah, it's simple things, exactly. It's like my my life at home.
Yeah.
And then specifically recently, so my father-in-law bought me one of those like portable hammocks, like the,
yes.
tie them up anywhere kind of thing. And I've been tying that up on these 2 trees by, we've got 2 streams in our front yard. And I've been tying it up by one of the, on 2 of the trees that are like right by the stream.
Yeah. And
I'm a person with extreme ADD. So I've never been able to meditate. Like people are like, try meditation to, and that's like telling a person with insomnia to just lay in their bed and close their eyes. Like, so it just doesn't work for me. But I leave my phone in the house, take my notebook and my pencil outside, and I lay in the hammock and look up at the trees. And it's the first time ever in life, that I've ever experienced a clear mind.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
what do you mean by clear mind?
What people describe as meditation. As they say, like in yoga, they're like, free your mind.
Yep.
Like, don't think about anything.
Yep.
Never known what that was like, ever. Like, and this thing that my father-in-law bought me for Christmas that I haven't used until now, like these past couple of weeks, I'm like, God, I want to disconnect more. I installed this piece of software on my laptop that blocks Facebook for like days at a time.
So cool.
And same thing with my phone.
Yeah.
The same thing. And so I've been trying to I've now just started this like over the past couple of days, trying to not be on social media as much. And in that, I bought like an old fashioned like tape recorder, like so that because I usually use my phone as my
cassette,
my ideas.
Yeah, cassette recorder.
Yeah. Like I usually use my phone to record ideas when I'm writing, but I'll go out in the hammock and I've got my tape recorder and I don't have any distractions.
Yep.
And my phone's not there. And I can't use it as an excuse of like, well, I'm using the recorder.
You just have your dedicated device.
Yeah, I have my recorder and my little notebook, and I just that's the thing that's been most like recent. Like,
I love that.
Just pure happiness.
That's so cool.
It's peaceful.
So, we've totally run the time.
Yeah.
What's something that you would want to leave everybody with? If you had the ear of everyone listening and you could leave them with the most important thing to you. No pressure.
Oh man.
Yeah, make the world a better place now.
Right now.
With your words.
I think I've sort of put it all on the table already.
Yes, you have.
Not sure if I have any cards left in my back pocket.
Okay.
But
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just like, be kind. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, be kind. That's what life is about to me, and just finding ways to open up and share and to be kind to more people. Like that's like that. It's been my whole learning experience over the past 5 years, and still continues. And I think that's where I'm at. Focus on that. Focus on how can you be nice to someone today.
I have absolutely loved having you here.
Thanks, man.
And us talking about all of the stuff that we did.
Thanks, man.
Come back.
I love being here too. Yeah. I'm right down the road.
Let's do it.
Love it.
11T Life is a production of Rock Candy Recordings and Rock Candy Music.